So, you're a mechanical engineer and you've got big dreams, right? Maybe you're imagining yourself designing the next gen EV or a consumer product that everyone has to have. Well, you already know that talent alone isn't going to cut it. You need a playbook. So think of this as your guide, a step-by-step roadmap for navigating the challenges, leveling up your skills, and, yeah, landing that dream job. Look, your degree, that's just got you in the door. In an industry where EVs are the new normal and AI is optimizing, well, everything, the learning has just begun. Seriously, the formulas you memorized back in college are just the starting point. The real challenge is applying them to problems that, didn't even exist 5 years ago. So, how do you go from being a good engineer to a great one? What's the real difference between someone who has a solid career and someone who truly makes an impact? It's not about just working harder, right? It's about having a strategy. And that's exactly what we're going to break down today. Okay, so here it is. This is the core formula for your career. Your market value is a product of your expertise, your ability to actually implement things, and your adaptability. I want you to think of it like a three-legged stool. If any one of those legs is weak, your whole career is going to feel unstable. Let's dig into what each of these really means. All right, let's dive into phase one. The first 5 years of your career are all about forging your foundation. This is where you go from being a student to what the industry kind of calls a usable technician. And that just means you're someone who can be trusted to get the job done. It's not about being a superstar on day one. It's about building the core skills that will make you a superstar later on. So here's what that journey actually looks like, broken down. You start with the fundamentals in university, of course. Then you spend the next couple of years translating all that theory into real hands-on skills. By year 5, you should be at a point where you can take a design from a concept all the way to reality. And that's when you're faced with a really critical decision. What do you want to specialize in? To set yourself up for this journey, you need what I like to call 3 power-ups from university. First, don't just memorize the core theory. Really understand it. Second, build your digital toolkit. Knowing CAD? That's just table stakes now. Seriously. But if you can also write some Python scripts to automate simulations or analyze test data, man, you're immediately in a different league. And third, that design, build, fail, learn loop is the single most important muscle you can develop. The sooner you start, the stronger it'll get. And this is your first boss battle. Let's call it the bracket of doom. Can you take a simple project like this and see it through from start to finish without your boss holding your hand? I mean, owning the design, the tolerances, the material selection, and really understanding how it's going to be made. When you can do that, you've officially leveled up. Okay, you've proven you can execute. Now the game changes. The next 15 years are all about becoming irreplaceable. This is where you go from being a cog in the machine to the person who actually designs the machine. After about a decade in the industry, you'll start to see a clear split. On one side, you've got the veteran, experienced, totally reliable, but pretty much doing the same job they did 5 years ago. On the other side, you have the industry mover. The difference isn't just about years of experience, it's about impact. The industry mover thinks in systems, they make strategic decisions, and they literally shape the future of their industry. So how do you become an industry mover? You build what's called a T-shaped skill set. You go deep, really deep, in one area, become the absolute go-to person for EV powertrains or robotics. But then you go broad. You learn enough about electrical engineering, software, even AI, to see how all the pieces fit together. You learn the language of business, cost, supply chain, market needs. And you master systems thinking, the ability to see the whole, big picture. And this, right here, this gets to the absolute heart of what it means to be a leader. Any competent engineer can solve a problem they're given, but the truly irreplaceable ones, they're the ones you can identify the right problem to solve in the first place. That, my friends, is a superpower. You know, being a great engineer is fulfilling, for sure. But let's be honest, you also want to be well compensated for your skills. And just like your technical career, your financial success requires a strategy. It's not about just asking for a raise. It's about understanding the money game and knowing how to play it. Let's just put a number out there, $250,000. And no, that's not some fantasy number. For a mid to senior level mechanical engineer with the right skills in the right industry, this is an absolutely achievable annual income. The question is, how do you get there? So how do we get to that number? Let's break it down. Your base salary, that's your foundation. Your bonus is nice, but it's unpredictable. The real game changer, this is where the serious wealth is built, is stock in the form of restricted stock units or RSUs. In a lot of these top-tier companies, stock can literally double your take-home pay. Okay, listen up, because if there's one decision that will have the biggest impact on your long-term earning potential, it's this: your choice of industry. The difference between a tier one industry like tech or EVs and a more traditional manufacturing role can be hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. The gap is just massive. So here it is, the three-step playbook for maximizing your salary. First, target a tier one industry where that stock compensation is a huge part of the package. Second, develop those cross-disciplinary skills we talked about. A mechanical engineer who can code is a rare and super valuable asset. And third, be strategic about when you change jobs. Staying at one company might get you a 3 to 5% raise, but a well-timed job hop can net you at 20, 30, even a 50% jump. Think about that. All right, you built your skills, you figured out the money game. Now it's time for the final boss, landing a job at an elite company like Tesla or Apple. And to do that, your resume just isn't enough. You need a killer portfolio. To beat the final boss, you have to understand their psychology. Tesla and Apple, they're both at the top of their game, but their engineering cultures are worlds apart. Tesla is all about moving fast, breaking things, and designing for massive scale. Apple? It's an obsession with detail, craftsmanship, and creating that perfect user experience. Your portfolio has to speak their language. So what does a Tesla portfolio look like? Well, they want to see that you can build fast and efficiently. Show them an EV project like a custom e-bike or a battery pack. Demonstrate your skills in lightweighting and optimization. And most importantly, prove that you understand design for manufacturing. And everything, I mean everything, needs to be backed up with real test data that shows your iterative process. Now for Apple, it's a totally different game. It's all about precision and polish. They want to see your obsession with every little detail. A portfolio with a complex mechanism, like a custom hinge, is a great way to show this off. Demonstrate your mastery of materials and finishes. Think milled aluminum, and prove that you can think not just about micron-level tolerances, but also about the intangible feel of a product. Now, here's something a lot of people miss. It's easy to think of your portfolio as just a showcase, but its real purpose is to be a tool for discussion in your interview. They will grill you on every single detail. Why did you choose this material? What's a better way to manufacture this? What were the trade-offs you made? You have to be ready to defend every single decision. So what's the perfect recipe here? What's the ideal mix for your portfolio? You really need to show both breadth and depth. A large systems-level project, like a robot or an EV, shows that you can think big picture. A smaller, high-precision project demonstrates your insane attention to detail. And a deep analysis project proves you have the theoretical chops to back it all up. And finally, I'm going to give you a piece of advice that might sound kind of crazy. Show your failures. A perfect portfolio is suspicious. A project where you hit a wall, analyzed why you failed, and then designed a better solution is infinitely more valuable. Elite companies aren't hiring you for what you've already done. They're hiring you for how you think, how you learn, and how you grow. So, there you have it. That's the playbook, a map for your entire career as a mechanical engineer. Look, it's not an easy quest, but it is an incredibly rewarding one. You have the tools, you have the strategy. The only question left is, what great problem will you solve?